Hi everyone, I'm Philip Galinsky, founder and director of Samba New York. We're continuing with our series exploring some basic patterns on some of the different samba percussion instruments. And in today's video, we'll be exploring this drum, the tantan. For those of you who don't know, the tantan is an instrument that was introduced into the samba by the musician Sereno, who is one of the founding members of Grupo Fundo de Quintal, the backyard group, which is one of the most famous and influential samba groups of all time. They're also the pioneering band of the pagode samba movement of Rio de Janeiro, which began in the 1970s. Since the 1970s, the tantan has become a classic samba instrument, being used in rodas de samba and in samba groups throughout Brazil and all over the world. Now let's talk about the construction of the tantan. The tantan is either a cylindrically or conically shaped drum with a head on one side and open on the other. The head can be animal skin or made of synthetic material, and the body can be metal or wood. There are actually different sizes of tantan, ranging from 14 inches in diameter all the way down to 10 inches in diameter. The tantan that I'm playing here is a beautiful tantan by Contemporânea. It's 10 inches in diameter, it has an animal skin head, and the body is made of aluminum. Now let's talk about how the tantan is played. The tantan is typically played across the lap like so, straight across the lap. In this video, I'm going to be angling the tantan a little bit this way so you can see the head a little bit better in the frame. But usually it's played just straight across the lap like so. The tantan can also be played on a strap or even on a stand, but originally it's played across the lap. There are actually different types of tantan with their own sizes and functions, and even sometimes going under different names. When Sereno originally introduced the tantan into the samba in the 1970s, it originally substituted for the surdo, the big bass drum. And like the surdo, the original function of the tantan at that time and even today is to emphasize the pulse of the music and to drive the rhythm forward by incorporating some of the subdivisions of the beat to varying degrees. In my understanding, there are actually two main types of tantan. There's a larger version of the instrument known as the tantan de marcação, or the marking tantan. It's called the marking tantan because its main function is to mark the beat of the samba. And as I said before, it can sometimes incorporate some of the subdivisions of the music to drive the music forward, but its main function is to emphasize the pulse. Okay, so that was the original tantan that was introduced into the samba by Sereno. And it's a larger version of the instrument. But there's also a smaller version of the tantan, which can go under a variety of different names. Sometimes it's called tantanzinho or little tantan, or sometimes it's known as Rebolo, as it's called in São Paulo, or even the Tantan de Corte, the cutting tantan. And it's sometimes called the cutting tantan because aside from emphasizing the pulse of the music and driving the music forward by incorporating some of the subdivisions of the beat or even all of the subdivisions of the beat, the Tantan de Corte can also cut the rhythm by playing variations. Now, if you have one tantan in your samba group, that tantan can actually incorporate the functions of one or both of those two types of tantan. So it has a lot of flexibility. And as I said before, the tantan was originally a substitute for the surdo, but it can actually be played along with the surdo in a samba group. And there are a lot of different possibilities. So you can have one tantan by itself, either a tantan de marcação or a tantan de corte. You can have one of those types of tantan along with a surdo. You can have both types of tantan along with a surdo, or both types of tantan with no surdo. So there are a lot of different possibilities. Okay? So in today's lesson, I'm actually going to teach you what I consider to be the basic or the most basic pattern for the Tantan de Corte. This pattern can also be played on the Tantan de Marcação, if that's the only Tantan that you have in your group, but it's more typically associated with the Tantan de Corte. Okay, before we get to the pattern itself, I just want to talk about some of the different strokes that we can play on the Tantan. So the first stroke that I'm going to show you, before we get to the strokes actually, I just want to show you how I'm positioning the Tantan. As I said before, we're playing it on the lap, and my right hand, I'm right-handed, so my right hand is going to be playing on the head of the drum, my left hand is going to be playing on the body of the drum, like so. So whether you're right-handed or left-handed, your dominant hand is going to be playing on the head of the drum, and your non-dominant hand is going to be playing on the body of the drum. So now let's get to the strokes that we can play on the Tantan. Here are some of the main strokes. So the first stroke I'm going to show you is a slap on the head of the drum. Some Tantan players just play a tap like so, but I actually like to play a slap, and it's actually very popular to play a slap for the closed stroke on the head of the drum. So the tap is just like so, and the slap is like this. Okay, so to get the slap, what I'm doing is I'm laying my whole hand across the head of the drum. I'm touching the head of the drum with the palm of my hand, but I'm using mostly the force of the ends of my fingers here to get a high-pitched timbre out of the head, and that's where the slap comes from. Okay, so I'm actually using a little more force and more movement with the fingers to get the slap. Okay, the next stroke that I want to show you is the open tone. To get the open tone, I move my hand a little bit closer to my body, and I strike the drum, catching this part of my hand with the rim, and then my fingers strike the head of the drum and they bounce off like so. Okay, so you'll notice that what I'm doing is I'm striking the head of the drum with my fingers, and the fingers come off, but I'm keeping this part of my hand on the rim when I play the open tone. Okay? Now, there's another stroke which can substitute for the open tone with the fingers, or it can be played in addition to that stroke, or you can alternate, and that's the thumb stroke. So to get the thumb stroke, it's very much like the thumb stroke on the pandeiro. I'm just swiveling my forearm like so, and I'm striking the head of the drum with the side of my thumb, and I'm catching a little bit of the palm of my hand on the head as well, like so. Okay, so it's a little bit of a quieter sound. Some players play only the thumb stroke, some players alternate, some players only play the open tone with the fingers, some players alternate between the two. There are many ways of playing all of these samba percussion instruments, and the Tantan is no exception. So there are a lot of different possibilities. Now, let's move to the non-dominant hand. The non-dominant hand is going to play on the body of the drum. Now, I just position my forearm like this on the head of the drum, on the body of the drum, and I just move my hand up and down, and I tap the body of the drum with my fingers. Now, some players also play the thumb on the body of the drum, and they may alternate between the thumb and the fingers, like so. But I myself just prefer to play with just the fingers. Okay, well, actually, it's the thumb and all the fingers together. Okay, so those are the main strokes that I wanted to show you on the Tantan. And now I want to show you the what I consider to be the most basic pattern on the Tantan de Corte. Okay, and before we get to the pattern itself, I just want to show you the skeleton of the rhythm. The skeleton of the rhythm, just like the surdo, the skeleton of the basic pattern on the Tantan is to mark the time of the samba. Okay, so we're going to have a closed tone on beats 1 and 3, which I'm going to play with a slap, and we're going to have an open tone on beats 2 and 4, which are the main accents, and I'm going to use an open tone with the fingers for that. So just the skeleton of the rhythm is as follows: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, okay? Now, to drive the music a little forward, to add a little forward momentum, I'm going to play my left hand on the and of each beat as follows. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay? Now, to add even more forward momentum, I'm going to play the first and last subdivision of each beat in my right hand. So that would be as follows. This is the way I'm going to play it. There are some different ways of playing it, but I'm going to play it this way. Slap, slap, open, open, slap, slap, open, open, slap, slap, open, open, slap, slap, open. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm playing 2 slaps and 2 opens. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay? As I said before, there's so many different ways of playing all these samba percussion instruments, and the tantan is no exception. So for example, some players play this pattern in the right hand a little differently. They play slap, slap, open, slap, 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 open, slap, 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 open, slap, 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 open. So what that is all slaps except for open tones only on beat 2 and beat 4, okay? But the way that I tend to play it is with 2 slaps and 2 opens, as I showed you before, okay? So now let's play this new pattern in the right hand with playing on the and of each beat in the left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Okay? Okay, before we add the last element to this basic pattern, I wanted to introduce a very important concept. Now, in the samba, the tantan, just like the surdo, tends not to just start on beat 1. It tends to play a pickup note, what we call in English a pickup note, which in this case will be the and of beat 4, an open tone on beat 4, which in Brazil, in the samba world, they call boombox. Boombox, okay? So it's the open tone, the pickup note on the and of 4, and the 1 is going to be a slap in this case, okay? So we're going to start our samba groove like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Okay, so now we're going to add one final element to this basic pattern. We're going to not only play the and of each beat in the left hand, but we're going to play the E and the and, the second and third subdivision of each beat in the left hand, okay? So you have the option of playing just one beat in the left hand, which I'll usually do if the tempo is really fast, but if the tempo is slower, I'll tend to play 2 beats in the left hand on the E and the and of each beat, okay? So let's play this final version of the basic pattern that I want to show you. And we're going to start with the boombox. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Okay? Let's do this pattern a little bit slower so you can play along with me if you're just beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Okay, so now let let me demonstrate this same pattern just a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there you have it. What I consider to be the most basic pattern for the Tantan de Corte. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.